Frozen Tundra Football League.
To all of my friends and fellow FTFLers, once again, it is the longest running weekly episodic fantasy football recap show. That's right, it is the FTFL Weekly Update. I am your host, the owner. Woo! Does it feel good to say this? Of the playoff-bound Hulkamaniacs, the real king of the FTFL, and I'm guessing, especially this time of year, that festive song deep down in your heart. That's right, it is I, Brett, 12 weeks in the books, one regular season week left, and we have our first division champion. If you had Matt winning the South before this season started, please stand up. Right, but that's how it goes. He is 9-3, sole possession, first place in the South. He will get a first round bye. Will he get the number one overall seed? That depends on what happens this week. He plays Jeff. I play Eric. Depending on who wins and loses those games, Jeff and I will jostle back and forth with Matt, 1, 2, and 3. The good news is all three of us are in. What that leaves is 3 playoff holes with 4 men to fill them. Wait. 3 playoff spots left with 4 teams available. Lots of winning your in scenarios. Definitely win and need some help scenarios. And then there's the absolute 1 in a million shot. So you're saying there's a chance for Hagen. Now, Deesum this week in his march to hopefully is what he believes the playoffs, topped his own league-leading season high score. And he almost got to the 140 plateau. We'll touch on that later. That was the high. The low is definitely Andy's team now is in the driver's seat for not only tying the worst record in league history, but will own the worst record following a championship season, which of course has him in the running for the DSUM. And tonight we will recap the DSUM kind of, I guess I'll rank them as I see them up till now, and what a year it has been. For that, we are down to the final week of the season. 3 teams have been eliminated. 3 teams are in. 4 teams fighting. Before we get to the recaps of the game, I think we should all take a moment, grab a drink, any old beverage, crack it, raise it high, and wish the boogeyman a happy birthday. Happy birthday, Aaron Rodgers, 37 years young now. Of course, being a wizard, I'm not entirely sure what human years means really to his age. He's a one of a kind. Aaron Rodgers, happy birthday. We're playoff bound, brother. All right, speaking of the playoffs, leading the way, the Architect at 8-3, coming in, taking on the Monkeys. Now, if the Monkeys wanted any sort of chance to maybe climb back into first place, now, trying to get back, of course, on the right track. He was on a nice win streak. He lost, trying to get back on the right side of things. Not this week. 109.5 for Matt, 69 for Adam Saltmarsh. If you're Matt, this game was over on Thanksgiving Day. Antonio Gibson, 32.5. Will Fuller, 29 points. So Saltmarsh went into the weekend down 60-some points. It was insane. Now, bad news for Matt. Will Fuller, Dunskies. Let me tell you, if anyone knows how to find a way out of playing a full season, it is Will Fuller. However, this time not the wet paper sack. Instead, it was more of the, oh, I apologize for not checking and blah, 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 whatever. You knew what you were doing. You got caught. You will sit. Now, Matt, of course, says Devontae Adams and Adam Thielen. Now, Adams this week did put 13 on the board. Thielen was out on the COVID list. Maybe he'll be back soon. Dallas Goedert, 13.5. Darius Slayton, 0. Didn't, however, matter. This was Matt's 4th straight victory over a winning team and his 7th straight victory overall. Just steamrolling his way to the first round bye. Can he keep it up? As far as up, that was not Salty's team this week. James Robinson and that hot tub that he's been filling with all sorts of stats all season long. 18.5 this week. Wayne Gallman in a spot start. 13.5. Keenan Allen. Not whatever, blah, 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 Allen. Not Josh Allen. Nope, not that guy. Not Allen Robinson. No. Keenan Allen. 12 points for him. Really, though, the problem for Saltmarsh comes down to one player, and that is stupid-faced junior Kyler Murray. 4 points this week. Weeks 1 through 10, he was averaging 28 points a game. Weeks 11 and 12, 10. That 18-point swing is coming back to haunt Saltmarsh. The Colts defense notched 1 point. It was their lowest outing of the season. Now, Saltmarsh is in the driver's seat. Win, and he is absolutely in. Lose, and still most likely in. However, I'm sure he'd like to turn the corner just as we are turning the page and heading off to yours truly's game. The Hulkamaniacs coming in at 7-4, taking on the only team in the North that had bested him this season, Team Linkowitz at 6-5. Let's just go ahead and cross that off the to-do list on our way to what we hope is bigger and better things. 108 for the Hulkamaniacs, 69.5 for John. Significant is that 8th victory because you have to go all the way back to the regular season in 2008 to find a time where I won 8 regular season games. Of course, leading the way, as always, the best there is, the best there was, the best there ever will be. Aaron, the Boogeyman Rodgers, 32 points. Mike Evans, the sun rises in the east and sets in the west, and Mike Evans scores touchdowns. He got a couple more this week, 15.5 points for him. DK Metcalf, no touchdowns, but 15 points. The Miami defense, 14, of course, as expected against the Jets offense. Chris Carson, welcome back, you wet paper sack. He got 9 in a limited role. Hopefully they're expanding that as we go forward. Alvin Kamara, 2.5 points. Not great. Tyler Lockett, 1.5 point. Even worse. Justin Jefferson on the bench, 19.5. Now, I have thought about, do I play him, do I not? I really don't necessarily need to. Include him. I have 4 of the top 10 receivers. He is 9, Evans is 10, Lockett is 5, and DK Metcalf is 3. Business be booming as we now head off to the playoffs. Of course, if you're Linkowitz, you still are in the driver's seat. Win, and you'll be in. Ronald Jones a second, 16.5. Evan Ingram, 11 points. Big Ben today put up 10. Goskowski, the Polish powerhouse he is, got 10 as well. Raheem back in the saddle again until the wet paper sack rips once more. Mostert with 9 points. Super excited. Linkowitz, despite his best efforts, however he says he's trying, not entirely sure. He is set up well for next year. He could still sneak in this year. We'll see. Speaking of not having to sneak in, Mana, 3-time Lucky Pants, looking for a 4-time champ. Mana coming in at 7-4, taking on the Pack Attack at 6-5. Well, he'll be 6-6 because he only knocks 81.5 points to Jeff's 105. Derrick Henry looking like a freight train on a runaway track. But I tell you what, 31 points just running smooth over everyone. Nick Chubb, 17.5. The Pittsburgh defense, 17. And Josh Allen, not Keenan Allen, 16 points. DeAndre Hopkins, we chronicled last week. He had been 7 weeks on, off, or was actually off, on. Was supposed to be back on. The lights are still off. 4.5 points for him. Of course, Jeff, I'm sure would like him to turn the corner. We'll see how that goes. If you're Eric, boy, oh boy, that loss was a big one. You now have to win and probably have to have John lose in order to find your way in, and or maybe Deesum lose, one of the two, to get your way in to the playoffs. When your kicker, Young Hui Koo, leads the way with 23 points, probably not your best week. Amari Cooper, 19 points, second highest total of the year. Russell, stupid face Wilson, they got the victory. He did throw for a decent amount of yards, but boy, oh boy, he sure wasn't cooking up much of a feast. I guess was tired from all the cooking that maybe he did in real life on Thanksgiving. Not sure. Devontae Parker also with 10. Clyde Edwards-Helaire turning into what some would consider a hellacious mistake. 2.5 points for him. 1 point for quite possibly the dumbest player in the NFL, Antonio Brown. I hate that guy. Jonnu Smith, 0 points. Not Great. Watson, 36 on the bench. Russell Wilson had 10 points, 26-point difference. I don't think you have to be a math teacher in Browerville to see that had he played Watson, Eric would be in the driver's seat on his way to the playoffs. And I, Eric, would be division champs. But no! Anyways, before we get to the last two games, we are going to take a bit of a break. And it's funny. I wasn't entirely sure what I was going to talk about this week. I had an idea that we might do decent stuff. And then fan mail came in, and I thought, you know what? This is perfect. This is exactly what we're going to do. Let me read the fan mail that came in, and then I'll get to my rankings of the Decent Award nominees I think should probably be in contention for the aforementioned award. It says, hey, Brett. Oh, excuse me. There's no actually a burp in there. Nothing. You do a great job on show. My comrades and I watch show from living room every Thursday here in Russia. Get out. Russia! My question for you is, now that season is almost over, there are many Decent Award nominees to pick from. It seemed to me that King of FTFL has lots of reason to get award. Can you give top reasons why King of FTFL should get Decent Award? Much thanks, Dmitry Fedorov, St. Petersburg, Russia. First and foremost, Dimitri, thank you so much for watching. Thanks for the email. I always love those kind of things when they come in. You know what? I thought a little bit about what you said, and yeah, I do have some reasons. And Sid's season happens to be on the list of nominations. So I'm going to go through this. Now, last year when I did this, the Adam Swart 4 first-round draft picks, which netted him a 5th place finish, was second on my list. I felt, that's a lot of first-round draft picks to not have pan out. Yes, still had a really great season. Had an off week in the first round of the playoffs. Those things happen. I thought for sure Jeff was a shoo-in with tanking it the last week of the season. We had a shot for the playoffs. However, people thought otherwise, so my rankings don't mean much. But I put them on there just, of course, for entertainment purposes. We're going to start off bottomless honorable mention. Something happened this year that I don't think we've ever seen happen before and may not ever happen again. In back-to-back weeks 2 and 3, Matt lost by 70 points. 70-plus points in each week. That's right, back-to-back 70-point losses. Now, of course, really, he can't get the decent. Number one, he avenged both of those losses. Number two, the dude is 9 and 3 and on his way to the playoffs. All right, so number 10 is actually a combo platter, both involving Matt, again, both involving kickers. First and foremost, Matt drafted a kicker that got cut, and then a few weeks later picked up a kicker whose game was postponed due to COVID, making him spend yet another $1. Number 9 on the list, Le'Veon Bell for a 6th-round pick. I know it wasn't necessarily your 6th-round pick, Adam Swart, but it was still a 6th-round pick for 25 points and a player who really isn't doing much. Number 8, Adam Swart again. You kept Kenny Golladay over Aaron Jones. Kenny Golladay is 50-some points on the season. Actually, take that back, 40-some points. Aaron Jones is up near 120. Might have been a slightly different year had you not done that. And we'll see. We're not done with you quite yet, Mr. Swart, because, of course, most weeks it is why Adam Swart deserves a Decent Award this week. All right, number 7 on my list, Eric. And maybe you could argue this should be higher, but I know your thought is you've got someone for the long term. Clyde Edwards-Helaire, 1st overall pick, over Aaron Jones, over James Robinson, over, let's be clear, a pile of players who probably, maybe I'll have to, for next week, you know what, Eric? For your Christmas present for the holiday special, I'll figure out how many players you should have drafted over Clyde Edwards-Helaire. You come in at number 7. Number 6 on the list. Swart, we're back at you. Cam Akers drafted in the 2nd round. All right, so you kept Golladay over Aaron Jones. That was definitely a mistake. You gave up a 6th-round pick for Le'Veon Bell. Definitely a mistake. Cam Akers in the 2nd round? I'm starting to see maybe why this season didn't pan out the way you had hoped. I know you said you've kept him on your roster all year for a reason because maybe he's going to be a rookie keeper, but I don't think you're giving up a 2nd-round pick for Cam Akers. Number 5 on the list, a trade I've talked about a lot since it happened. The Michael Gallup, Christian Kirk trade, just a reminder. Salty got Michael Gallup and a 10th-round pick, and he gave up Christian Kirk and a 4th-round pick. Kirk to date, since the trade, 85 points. Gallup, 52 points. Whoops. Whoops-a-daisy. Number 4 on our list. John, I I knew we'd get there eventually, John. Come on, you always find yourself on this list. John, you carried an open roster spot all the way up until week 8. You had a whole open spot, and you had Gunnar Olszewski on your team as well, when some would consider that an open spot. 2, I know he's a Beaver. We are Beaver all. However, he wasn't doing much to help you when the points they needed to become to call. I don't know. I tried to rhyme that. So John, open roster spot through 8 weeks, which may have eventually led to you scoring 41 points in a game that you claim to have been trying. 41 points, the new record low for the league since we went to the new scoring system with flex players and the such. 41 points. In a game where routinely we see people over 100 on a weekly basis. John scored 41 points. That is number 3. Number 2 on this list, and let's be clear, number 2, number 1 are all going to be somewhat interchangeable. Number 2, Sid's season. Sid, you spent the most money in the FTFL this year. You have the 3rd lowest points scored against you, yet you aren't going to make the playoffs. You continually sit Ryan Tannehill in favor of other players trying to play the matchups, and I maybe see a little bit of that, but some of that no, and including this last week. And yes, you somehow, were proved correct, but nobody, and I repeat, nobody should ever be starting Mitchell Trubisky, especially someone who calls himself the king of the FTFL. Sid Hagen, you are back, baby. Back to not making the playoffs. You might have been the GM of the decade, but that was last decade. That ain't this decade. Moving on. Your season, for as much as you put into it, really didn't pan out. And another person whose season really didn't pan out, Adam Swart. Now, Adam Swart, if you remember, he won the DSM Award last year, and we recently received footage that seemed peculiar, and I'm not entirely sure who sent it, as it was labeled anonymous. But I'm going to go ahead and play that now and just show you what we recently found out about Adam Swart and his DSM Award.
So I have to be in Swart's neighborhood, so I was driving up to his house, and I drive by, and I found something interesting on the side of his house. So not only is this guy, so he talks bad about the DSM Award all the time and how he thinks it's dumb and all that, but, for a guy who's calling the award dumb, well, I'll let you see for yourselves, but look right there, nice and close right there on the side of Swart's house. There sits the DSM Award. So not only has he had it this whole time, it's right down there at the bottom of the fuss, it's kind of hard to see, but not only has it been at his house this whole time, he also has it outside.
There you have it, folks. He's had it all along. It's been sitting in his yard. He is so proud of this award that did he hide it in the garage? No. Did he hide it somewhere in the basement? Nay. He had it out where all the neighbors could see. Bravo, Adam Swart, for embracing all that is the DSM. Adam, I listed off 3 separate things this year, from keeping Galladay to drafting Akers in the 2nd, the Le'Veon Bell trade. Your team is 3-9. There's no way you're not on this list. There's no way. But none of that might matter. Now, I think Sid makes a really solid argument. But Andy, number 1, 2-10, tied, at least right now, with 1 week to go for the fewest wins in an FTFL season. It could happen. New owner of the worst season after a championship season. You had the highest grade coming out of the draft. You were the reigning, defending FTFL champion, and you completely let it. You can complain. Some guys got hurt. Some guys underperformed. We all have that. You have 2-10 and potentially a front-running position for your very first DSM Award. All right, moving on now away from the DSM Award. We'll see where that shakes out. On to the namesake, the Ryan Diesel Fantasy Football Team, coming in at 5-6, taking on the King at 5-6. In a must-needed, winner has to win. You have to win to stay in the hunt. Loser, you are done. And Deesum said, you know what, Sid? Why don't you go take a seat? Now, that's kind of like earlier this year on the chat board. 136.5. I did. He bested his season high and league high from earlier this year to Sid's 86. He beat him by a smooth, edged him by a smooth 50 points. Of course, leading the way, Tyreek Hill, good God, 48.5 points. Patrick Mahomes, 34 points. 49 of those combined points came in those 2 touchdown passes. 49 points in 2 plays. I don't know if we've ever seen anything like that. Allen Robinson, 20 points. Travis Kelce, 8. Aaron Jones, a ho-hum week at 6.5. But with that, we can now update the chart and remind Eric just how poor of a decision he made, because Clyde Edwards-Helaire, 11 games, 96.5 points. That is just not going to get it done, and it isn't. You're 6-6. Aaron Jones, 112. James Robinson in that hot tub. Woo! 119.5. And Myles Gaskin, probably who you should have picked all along, Eric. 63 points. Myles might come back and add to this total. Who knows? Maybe he has a Tyreek Hill type week and blows past Clyde, but that's why they play the games. We'll update this. Boy, that list of the chart is getting awful thick on the wall there. If you're Sid, again, you played Mitchell Trubisky. Yeah, he scored 24 points. Yeah, he outscored Ryan Tannehill, but nobody should ever play Mitchell Trubisky. Austin Eckler, welcome back, 13.5. Calvin Ridley, 11. The Rams, 12. Tannehill, again, on the bench, 20. Now, if you have forgotten, Sid seems to have a thing for Trubisky. Not sure why. Seems to like to stick it to Tannehill. Not sure why. This happened last year in the championship game. Sid, before the game, dropped Tannehill to pick up Trubisky to back up Dak Prescott, so he'd have somebody. In case Dak wasn't going to play, I don't know. How'd that work out? Dak Prescott, 4 points. Mitchell Trubisky, 2 points. Ryan Tannehill, 30 points. Come on, Sid. Quit hating on Ryan Tannehill. He's a great player, and your team is not. Last game of the week, speaking of teams that are not great, the 2-9 Mixed Cocktails taking on the visitors from Planet War, decent award winning visitors from Planet B with questionable motives at 2-9 in the No One Cares Bowl. 80.5 for Swart, 62 for the Mixed Cocktails. Swart dodges the worst record in Fantasy League. He would have had the best and the worst record in league history. No more. Andy takes control of that, as well as he does for the first overall pick in the draft. If you're Swart, Kirk Cousins, 26, Drake, 19.5, coming on too little, too late. T. Higgins, 10.5, his 6th-round pick worthy Le'Veon Bell, 3 points. Andy's Devin Montgomery, 16.5. Johnson, 11.5. That's right, Duke Johnson got to start again. 11.5. Christian Kirk, a meager 1.5 points. Of course, he is in the hunt for the worst record of all time. He owns the worst record after a championship season. It has not been a great year for Andy. All right, stud the dud, the decent. And then finally, North versus South, Part 2, Week 13 of the regular season. Stud of the week, this was easy. Tyreek Hill, 48.5. Dud of the week, Stupid Face Jr., Kyler Murray, for the 2nd straight week, let the radioactive monkeys down, just 4 points. This week's Decent Award nominee, Sid. Sid, you started Trubisky. I don't care if you had 24 points. Jesus Lord, please, don't ever do that again, or we might just have to vote your ass out of this league. That's terrible. You can no longer, after that, be called the king of the FTFL. I, the real king, decree, hear, hear, that you shall change your name or be banished. All right, Week 13, North vs. South, Part 2. Still some big game. Hulkamaniacs 8-4 taking on the Pack Attack at 6-6. Hulkamaniacs win. He is your North Division champs. Pack Attacks win. They might get in with the help. Someone else has got to lose. Mana, 3-time Lucky Pants, looking for a 4-time champ. Mana, 8-4, taking on the Architect, a 9-3 battle of top teams in the divisions. Again, Matt has been barnstorming through some of the best teams in the league during his 7-game win streak. Matt wins, he gets to 10 wins. That's rare. Jeff wins, he's got a shot at first place. Jeff will finish no worse than 3rd seed, getting the 6th seed in the first round of the playoffs. Now, for the teams that aren't quite in yet, Monkeys at 7-5, taking on Lincolnwood at 6-6. Monkeys win, you're in. Lincolnwoods win, you're in. Lincolnwoods lose, you might be out. Salty, most likely, even if you lose, you're still in. But there is a chance. And Ryan Deeson's fantasy football team, 6-6, taking on Plan B at 3-9. Again, Deeson, you win, and you're in. Lose, and it's going to get dicey. King of the old, never to be mentioned again, king of the FTFL at 5-7, taking down the Mixing Cocktails at 2-10. That does it for the show this week, my friends. 1 week to go, and then the most wonderful time of the year. I hope you have simply been having a wonderful Christmas time as we get ready for the playoffs, we get ready for the holidays, and we get ready for Week 13. Peace! Yes, I need you to go get the almanacs, both of them. I don't care how you do it. You need to get them. You need to get them. You need to bring them back to me. We got to put an end to this. We got to finish this out. I understand this is going to be a little dangerous, but if there's anyone I trust in a situation like this, it's you. You can do this for me? Perfect. Good luck, my friend.